Morning, everyone. I'd like to call the Bruce County Highways January meeting to order. And first thing on the agenda, of course, is to remind everyone that it's our own responsibility to declare any pecuniary interest that we may have on today's agenda. Hearing none at this time, we'll move on, Brian, into correspondence, and we have a correspondence referred from the town of South Bruce Peninsula, West Road in South Bruce Peninsula. And you want to walk us through that, please, Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thought we'd start with the correspondence we received back in late October. Town of South Bruce Peninsula made a motion that we consider returning the portion of the West Road within their boundary to the municipality. And I think we've taken some time to consider this carefully. And it may be worthwhile just going over some of the relevant facts quickly. Is again, the Municipal Act empowers council to make decisions on which roads should and should not be within the upper tier of the county road system. I think, are aware that we have commenced an environmental assessment on the entire 29 kilometers of road, of the West Road. And I think we're all aware that the county official plan has language that obligates the county to do certain things, essentially an environmental assessment. The county official plan has the West Road on the mapping, so we're aware of that. So in determining an appropriate response, we did ask the input of the municipality of Northern Bruce Peninsula, and they responded that it's their preference that we continue with the environmental assessment, and then upon its completion, when we define if there's a project, if that's the solution, that we then, that the portion of the West Road within their municipality remain an integral part of that project. We also asked the input of the county planning, naturally because of the text that's in the official plan, and we received a response on how to deal with any matter with respect of not having some of the road within the jurisdiction of the Highways Department, and that requires an official plan amendment. We did circulate our First Nations, SON in particular, and copied our MOECC colleagues. We received a response from both, actually, one of which this morning, the other of which some time ago. The MOE responded that they suggested that we speak with our solicitor, the county solicitor, which I did not do. They suggested, and they suggested that with respect to legal matters with OMB requirements and official plan language and methodology. And they also mentioned an option of co-proponents. Yet we posed other questions to MOE on that regard, but we did get a response from MOE. And just so you're aware, we have been communicating with our SON partners, and we had a meeting yesterday with Historic Saugeen Métis at their offices. So no, I'm sorry, I thought we'd look at the environmental assessment process. We are at the very initial stages of the environmental assessment process. It's my opinion that we should respond to the town of South Bruce Peninsula to suggest that we're not interested and don't support their request to return their portion of the West Road to the town. And in my opinion, we have to make this step and consideration before we would consider what to do with the West Road EA, which is your next report. So on that basis, Mr. Chairperson, I'm of the opinion that we respond to the town to say that we do not support their request to return their portion of the West Road to the town.
Okay, the recommendation from the Highways staff is that the Highways Department respond to the correspondence referred from the town of South Bruce Peninsula dated October 21st, 2015 as follows. That the County does not support the request to return to the town of South Bruce Peninsula the portion of the West Road which lies within the boundaries of the town of South Bruce Peninsula. Kelly?
Mr. Chair, could you reread it? The mic wasn't on and just...
Right on.
I think you were testing.
Yeah. The recommendation is that the Highways Department respond to the correspondence referred from the town of South Bruce Peninsula dated October the 21st, 2015 as follows. That the county does not support the request to return to the town of South Bruce Peninsula the portion of the West Road which lies within the boundaries of the town of South Bruce Peninsula. That's the recommendation. Do we have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation? Moved by Mitch, seconded by Mike. Any discussion on the motion, Ann?
I'm sorry. I thought we agreed before we'd finished the environmental assessment before we made any decision. And so does this recommendation mean that now once we finish the environmental assessment there'll be no more consideration of, because we wanted to see that first, like whether there really were that many changes. But I could have missed that. So when we make this decision then it's final?
No.
Go ahead, Brian.
If I can offer, is before us is a request that we respond to the town in a timely manner. As it stands right now, this is suggesting that at this time that we would not support that request. You will see in a report in minutes where, oh no, actually in this report itself, I have to get my reports correct. Yes, this report itself is that we may consider, we've got to be careful as to where we are in the environmental assessment. We're at the very beginning phase. We haven't defined the problem yet. You know, that's going to be before you in minutes. We're suggesting in this report that an alternative solution may be that the do nothing, if we don't do anything, the outcome of the environmental assessment is that we do nothing, is it may integrate the transfer. But we should go through the environmental assessment process, and that may be an outcome.
Thanks. I just wanted to make sure I had that right. That was my understanding, and I just wanted to...
Yes, but we didn't want to embody in a motion that thinking, because we haven't got to the problem statement yet, which we'll get in minutes.
Anyone else? Any discussion on the motion?
I do if nobody else does.
Janice?
Thank you, Chair. So my biggest concern is with the environmental assessment, and the cost involved in that is tremendous. And I'm just trying to avoid that cost, because every day and week and month that we go down this process, it's costing our taxpayers a lot more money. So that's why, my municipality is just simply asking you to return that road, because there's no need for that road to be reconstructed. There's no need for that at all. It needs to be repaved in a few places, and we're fully prepared to do that. It's long overdue. Nothing's happened on that road since 2009 when it was turned over to the county. I mean, it was our road. So, the facts to be considered on this report, none of them present anything that stands in the way of transferring this road back. The only obstacle to turning that road back is at this table right now. I mean, everybody here has that decision. You're the only ones to make that decision to turn the road back. So my concern is, the further down the road it goes. I mean, yes, Mayor Eadie, we do have the opportunity to stop the process and turn the road back to the town, or leave it with the county and do nothing. But the further down the road it goes, not only is it going to be costly, the public is going to become much more involved as it's heading in that direction. I think the First Nations is going to become very vocal on this issue, and I don't think it's going to be a very pretty issue. And it's going to be a very costly, ugly issue. So honestly, I'm appealing to you to please just, let's nip it in the bud. Save the taxpayers a tremendous amount of money and just turn the road back over to the town. Let people just live in Red Bay and not have to have a superhighway past their front door. Let's just put it back. And if Northern Bruce wants to remain in the jurisdiction of the county, that's fine. I have no qualms about that. I'm only dealing with my municipality. So again, this is one more of, I'm sure, quite a few appeals to just stop this and stop the money bleed and turn it back over to the town. And that's about all that I want to say. I'm sorry, on behalf of my people, I would like to request a recorded vote on this. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Brian, did you want to respond?
Yes, please, Mr. Chairperson. If I can offer is, we will know by early summer, conceptually, what the variety of solutions are. And I think you speak of a fairly harsh solution when you speak of superhighway. If I can offer is, the variety of solutions are traditional in the sense of repair, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. So superhighway may not even be associated with reconstruction. And you know, within our system, I guess the only superhighway I can think of would be Grey Bruce Line. And I think it's been clear that this is not a treatment of the Grey Bruce Line, in my opinion, is inappropriate. So you know, we have a variety of solutions, and some may be quite soft and gentle. And we've had a variety of public meetings. We get much correspondence, and we've heard the public. So again, when you say is cost, you know, naturally we're all concerned on cost. The cost, I think, to come up with to the meetings in early summer, which are going to be conceptual, are going to be modest. It's going to be further staff time, which is difficult, you know, for our department, yet I think would be of value to everyone, including the local municipality. So I'm of the opinion by the time we come to early summer, and you'll see in a report shortly, that we hope to host our public information sessions at that time for the conceptual solutions. Good, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you, Brian. So maybe Brian or Kelly, just for me again, just to be clear on this, whether the road stayed in the management of the county or was transferred back to South Bruce Peninsula, were we not ordered by the OMB to do the EA before we even go as far as to repair or change a culvert or do any construction of any type on that road? Whether it was our road or the Peninsula's road, before any work's done on that road by anybody, were we not ordered to do an EA?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I think the phrase is road improvement. And if I can offer is, member Janice reflects paving. That is a road improvement. An EA on the whole 29 kilometers of road have to be done before any paving is done. So in fairness, by early summer, we'll look at the variety of solutions, and at that point, we will know more. And immaterial of jurisdiction, whether it be a local road or a county road, a local municipal road, for lack of definition problems, is there will be an obligation for an environmental assessment.
The OMB, that was for reconstruction. We don't have to get I'm sure all of you, being mayors of your municipalities, don't need to have an environmental assessment when you want to pave a road. That was for major reconstruction, which is not at all what we're at all interested in. And you know what? My town has come up with a perfect preferred solution as well. So again, I would like to ask you guys to please just give it back to the town where it belonged in the first place, and we'll put this whole thing to bed.
Any other discussion on the motion? Bob?
If we did turn this back to South Bruce Peninsula, there'd be no sense in us proceeding with the northern section, would there? That we wouldn't gain much by, would we turn that back to the North Peninsula?
There's a, if I may, Mr. Chairman, there's a variety of opinions on that. It would be beneficial to look at the composition of the roads of the area and to see where the routing and the nature of the roads throughout that area. Some may be of the opinion, yes, there is merit in doing work at the north end. But as we stand right now, it's very clear that the West Road is a county road by willpower of past councils and quite frankly by decisions made here today in the minutes ahead. It's clear that it's a county collector road, and it's a collector either rural or collector urban defined in our official plan. It's clear in our official plan that it's incumbent that this council consider road improvements. And we've listed, and you will see shortly, is the deficiencies on the West Road that would require consideration for road improvements. So, to answer your question is it possible, or does it have merit to do work at the north? I am not completely prepared to have a formal answer, but it would be my opinion at this time that there would be merit.
Any other discussion on the motion? Just for clarity on the motion, a recorded vote has been requested on, and I know at council, when a recorded vote happens at county council, those the numbers or the weighted vote, those numbers kick in. Do those numbers work the same way in committee, or is it just by majority of people?
Through you, Mr. Chair, they are identical. It is applied the same.
Thank you. And so who, in this case, calls the recorded vote? Is that Darlene, or leaving that up to the engineer? How are we going to do that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, Darlene will read it out, and then she'll announce the results once complete.
Any other discussion on the motion? I'm about ready to call the vote. Okay, Mel, go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick comment. Our resolution pretty well speaks to our position on the road, and it has not changed from day one. We support the West Road, support the EA proceeding as directed by the OMB, and I think to not proceed with that OMB would be very unfortunate, because I agree with Brian. I think some of the results from the EA is going to be quite soft. So, and there needs to be some factual information get out to the public as well. There's misinformation, all kinds of that, but we need factual information to get out to the public. And I think once they see the completion of the EA, that it's going to change a lot of people's minds. And I still have a lot of people that support the West Road. We do have a few people that I think I seem to associate wind turbine development or transmission power development with the reconstruction of this road, which I don't buy into. To me, it's not an issue for me.
Thank you, Milt. Brian wants to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to comfort committee is our department has been reluctant to respond to the many comments and correspondence we've received because we don't have the basis upon which to respond. We don't have a problem statement. So it is our intent to respond to the many comments and correspondence we've received back to the person who made that upon the committee's consideration of the problem statement, because it sets the framework of how we respond to it. So both municipalities will be comforted to know there's a lot of information about to go out to the individuals that are interested in the project. Oops, into the environmental assessment.
Go ahead, Janice.
I just want to make it clear, the OMB has insisted upon an environmental assessment if that road is to be reconstructed. If the road is to be reconstructed, then they demand an environmental assessment, because what happened before, that process was going through without an environmental assessment, and they stepped up and said, no, you cannot reconstruct that road without a full EA. What we're saying is we don't want to reconstruct the road. We do not require an environmental assessment. We just want the road back. We'll make repairs where we need to make them, but we are not at all interested in reconstructing that road. So I just want to make that very, very clear where the OMB stands. And they were very clear, and they will be watching like a hawk if this does go further down that road.
Thank you. Does any other member of the committee have any questions on the recommendation? Okay, I think we're prepared to call the vote then, Darlene.
Councillor Buckle?
I support this recommendation.
Councillor Eady?
Yes.
Councillor Eagleson?
Yes.
Councillor Ingalls?
Yes.
Councillor Jackson?
No.
Councillor McKeever? Yes. Councillor Smith?
Yes.
And Warden Tulin?
Yes.
So the total count for yes is 13, no count of 3, and that motion is carried.
Okay, thank you, Darlene. The motion's carried. Next item on today's agenda is action items, West Road Environmental Assessment. Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we look at the problem statement that's attached to your package, I wish to again take a look at the environmental assessment format. Again, before us is the traditional framework of the assessment. The first phase is the problem statement, then the alternative solutions, the more specific design, report writing, implementation. Right now, we're right in here. We held discretionary meetings with respect to the problem statement back in August. We've received information from South Bruce Peninsulas and inquiries and issues that we had to address, in my opinion, which we have addressed moments ago. So now it's our opinion that we need to consider an appropriate problem statement. And in doing the review of the problem statement, we have met with a variety of parties. We've got a variety of input, agencies, landowners, naturally our First Nations colleagues, our Aboriginal colleagues. We are aware that we commenced the environmental assessment in early August, and we're aware of where we are within the framework of the environmental assessment. So let's look at what we suggest to be the problem statement. We've done it in the form of, we call this correspondence. This isn't quite a notice, but it's going to be circulated to all those interested, people who participated in the public information sessions, the agencies, and we're going to post it in the newspaper as well so people can be aware of specifically what the problem statement says. So, and I'll read, is the West Road composed of a variety of road sections. And again, this text has matured, and we've got a lot of input into this. And interesting that we have to balance that input. We've got emails as early as this morning suggesting how they had seen this on the internet, that why we didn't include some of the specifics that individual agencies, partners, or whatnot have asked us to consider in the problem statement. Yet, we had to make that balance. So you likely are going to hear agencies or groups or associates, colleagues, whatnot, said, well, we still feel that there's, this word here should have been added, that word there should not have been added. So we are hearing it, and I make you aware of that. So let's return. The West Road, we identify the components of the West Road, all of the 29 kilometers of it, as required by what I consider now is our official plan. The OMB had demanded that we insert clauses in our official plan. So now we are meeting the OMB's decision through the embodied language in our official plan. So, we're doing this is the environmental assessment, whole 29 kilometers of road, and we identify there's a number of deficiencies. And I say that includes, and it may not be everything, but the deficiencies include road encroachments on private property. Interpreting that, the road should be on road allowance, or should be on property that's owned by the jurisdiction being the county. Road geometry, basically geometrically, vertically, horizontally, and width should be adequate. Right now, deficiency is inadequate road structure. We've done the geotech on it frequently throughout the 29 kilometers, and have identified shortcomings in the road structure. Naturally, okay, then the next issue is poor road surface condition. If I can offer, before we improve road surface condition, we would want to ensure the point above, which was adequate road structure. Moving forward, so that is the problem statement being to assess existing conditions and develop a preferred solution. This is language embodied in the environmental assessment. For road improvements, a phrase from the OMB and embodied in our official plan to address West Road deficiencies, some of which are defined above. If I can acknowledge, Mr. Chairperson, because we still receive confusion about some of the acknowledgements that are on this. I call it correspondence, you could call it a notice that's going to be published and circulated to all those interested, is that the EA for the West Road is not related to any wind power development. And we will make further efforts to identify through appropriate parties to provide input if the solution that materializes from the environmental assessment, the preferred solution, may have impact on wind power development. And there are firms available that may assist us in acknowledging would an outcome have any bearing on wind power development. So that was naturally, when we saw all these people at these public information sessions, it was clear that a lot of people were there because of this perception. And we continue receiving emails on this perception. Next bullet, any widening of the existing road allowance will be applied locally, not throughout, which has been past practice on other applications, and shall be based on addressing the problem statement. So we're going to be looking at correcting some of the deficiencies. And so when it comes to road widening, it's going to be, we will demonstrate each and every location, if we require road widening, why, if we need it, and why, because of its resolution of one of the deficiencies. The EA will include a review of existing environmental conditions, assessments of potential effects. This is the natural environmental assessment where we undertake a thorough investigation of environmental sensitivities, and we consider and we acknowledge and we mitigate and have regard for the environmental sensitivities on solutions. Naturally, concern over road safety. And the EA will be done as instructed by the OMB, as embodied in the official plan, with consultation. And this statement we've been we've been talking to people with this statement too, has been broadened to include our SON colleagues as well as our Métis colleagues. Path forward is traditional environmental assessment stuff, Mr. Chairperson. I don't think I'll be going over that. To return to the recommendation, I believe it stands as presented.
Okay, the recommendation, I'll read it, that the West Road Environmental Assessment Problem Statement be adopted and the correspondence be circulated to landowners, public, municipalities, and stakeholders. Do I have a mover or seconder for that motion? Moved by Dave, second by Robert. Any discussion on the motion? Janice?
Thank you. Brian, can you, would you be kind enough to make it really clear when you get to that point where you're looking for evidence that the wind farm project is behind all of this? Because we can provide an abundance of proof that will probably save the county a lot of money through getting investigators or whatever it is that you wanted to do. So if you could let me know, or this council, when you're at that point where you're going to be pulling in evidence that that there is or is not a wind farm project happening. Thanks.
Wonderful discussion, if I may, Mr. Chairperson. Is the thought is to have technical comment if the preferred solution, whatever it would be, will it enhance the potential for wind power development? Because I think right now there's a road allowance there that's termed the West Road in aggregate, individual parcels, 911 names, whatever. It exists. So if we don't enhance the potential for wind development, then it would be, I was going to use the word moot issue, but it would be a non-issue with respect to the environmental assessment. If the solution has no influence in impact or a potential for enhanced, or if it enhances the opportunity for wind development, is where we see getting that comment. Not saying there's whatever, wherever. It's a matter of, will the preferred solution enhance the potential for what I suspect is transmission on that corridor. Right now, there's a corridor, and it could be used as it is. Does the preferred solution enhance the potential for wind development? That is the question I think we need to answer.
Okay, maybe I'll provide all of the evidence regardless.
Oh, certainly.
We'll do that.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions on the recommendation or comments? Okay, we have a mover, Dave and Robert, seconder, so no further discussion. All those in favor of the recommendation? Those opposed? Recommendation's carried. We're on to action item B, Bridge and Culvert Capital, McCurdy Bridge.
Mr. Chairman, a bridge capital project this year is our consideration of the McCurdy Bridge. We're working with BM Ross closely on this. We're nearing, we are approaching a step where we require committee's consideration to the preferred, the preliminary preferred solution. So we have gone, as we've noted, we've gone to the municipality of Erin Elderslie and Brockton and garnered some very interesting information, and I think it appropriate for me to take a couple of minutes and move through the current status of the McCurdy Bridge. That is the existing McCurdy Bridge built in 1913. This is an infrastructure master plan that was started in 2011 and completed in 2013 to deal with what the county should be doing with 8 bridges south of Paisley. The recommendations of that master plan identified how to deal with the individual 8 bridges. It identified schedules A, B, and C, environmental assessments I'll touch base on. It recommended an implementation plan that we'll look at in just a moment. It naturally had regard for a bunch of environmental work that was done as a part of the master plan, should be incorporated into any of the solutions, whether it be repair, rehabilitation, or replacement. And naturally, item number 5 is flexibility that the Highways Department always applies to any initiative. This was the outcome of the master plan, Mr. Chairman, and you know, I often started by discussing a bridge that wasn't on the master plan, and that is what's called the Nags Bridge over the Saugeen River. We've got two major water courses heading towards confluence in Paisley. We've got the Saugeen through here, and we've got the Teeswater River through here. In 2009 and 10, we did the environmental assessment and replacement of the Nags Bridge because the road rationalization study done in 2005 suggested that that corridor, that County Road 15 that ends on County Road 3, that goes through Eden Grove, Pickerton, Glamis, Tiverton, and Inverhuron, is aligned with Elmwood further to the east. The section from Road 19 to Elmwood was a county road but turned back many years ago, and there was a bit of a gap in between County Road 3 and Road 19, and there was a bridge that was in very poor condition, being the Nags Bridge, in 2005. So an outcome of the 2005 road rationalization was to move ahead with the replacement of that bridge. So I would foresee sometime in the future that a corridor through the center of the county, east-west, may be along that alignment. With that given, in 2011, the committee of the day was torn as to which of that group of bridges to attend to next. So the outcome of the master plan was, as you can see, a star is replacement, sunshine is rehabilitation, and a hook and shovel is a repair and retire. So I won't go through the individual bridges. We know that that's the bridge in question, McCurdy Bridge, that had been destined for a replacement. The implementation in the environmental assessment is, you can see the solution identified: repair, rehabilitation, and replacement. And that was a variety of environmental schedules, in the sense there was an A+, and a B, and a C. And we realize that in a master plan is it allows you to move ahead on all the projects that are A+, or B. The only project that was a C was the McCurdy Bridge. Next was when we look at time frame and anticipated dollars, is we have done quite well in the sense that we have completed the repairs on the 12th of Brant Bridge in Dudgeon. We've rehabilitated Watson's. We're in the process of replacing Big Irwin, and we're now on the last bridge of the group, destined for 2015, which will now be, I hope, 2016 and 17 replacement, being the McCurdy Bridge. I do identify that the dollar values in the master plan done some years ago for the municipal share are a little gentler here than they materialized upon us doing a more detailed design. I've been asked why. Is these estimates were built on the Nags Bridge unit costs that was done in 2010, and we got a great price on the bridge. You will see that the costs for the McCurdy Bridge are built on the Big Irwin Bridge that we replaced as of tender last year, and their unit costs are not so gentle. So we've used more current data to assess the costs on the McCurdy Bridge than was done within the master plan. Let's take a look at our accomplishments. This is the rehabilitation of the Watson's Bridge. I do note to you that there's a bottom cord that was replaced, stringers replaced, cross beams replaced, a new concrete deck, and some work done on the abutments. That bridge is now in good shape for 70 years. That was the rehabilitation. The 12th of Brant, destined for retirement, had seen some repairs, very modest ones, as shown there. The Dudgeon Bridge has received some repairs as well, again destined for potential retirement, some on the soffit of the concrete section. Our Big Irwin Bridge that we're dealing with, replacing right now, is presently with girders on it and looks a lot like that. And Mr. Chairperson, if I can acknowledge to you, did you notice the bit of a camber in those girders? And the purpose of that is when they apply the deck, it will actually move the girders to a level configuration. Just so you're aware, is we used to design camber in bridges many years ago when we designed bridges, and I'm afraid to say that I did that with the use of a slide rule. Oh, okay. But I thought I'd share that with you. To move forward, Mr. Chairman, this is the environmental assessment master plan. We have done phases Phase 1 and Phase 2. We did the public meetings, and this is what said for the McCurdy Bridge, that we would replace the bridge. So the option of not replacing the bridge would require a reassessment of the master plan. So we're moving ahead into Phase 3 of the environmental assessment to look at where we should put the new McCurdy Bridge. We issued a notice of commencement in October 2013. We've circulated letters to affected parties again in April 2015, and we've come up with those 3 alternatives. If I can offer the existing road, this is looking north, Saugeen River through here naturally. The existing road goes on a deviation that's approximately 100 meters north of the road allowance alignment. So the options are A, is generally an existing alignment being twisted and shaped to conform to reasonable road geometry. Alternative B is an alignment 50 meters to the south. And alternative C is to go on the original road allowance that has never been used for a crossing site. All previous bridges had used an alignment that 100 meters to the north, just because of the nature of the hill on the west side of the bridge. So those are the 3 potential solutions. I won't go through the deck. This is just specific deck design requirements common to each. The only areas I will notice is it's intended that the road remain gravel and the deck remain concrete exposed, not paved. Is influence from other information, cultural heritage. We did a cultural heritage review, or a consultant did on the county's behalf. It was circulated to Ministry of Tourism, Culture, and Sport. It required a bit more effort. It was circulated to some heritage and historical societies who provided comment, and it was their opinion that there would be some value in keeping the old bridge. Archaeologically, we've done stage 1 investigation, suggesting that we are recommending that we do a stage 2 that we're aware of, but naturally we have to determine the preferred solution as to determine where to do the stage 2. Hydrology, we started the hydrology to support the style of the bridge and ensure that the flows beneath it will not be impacted by quantity and or ice. And we're continuing to do work on aquatics. It's suspected there's mussels at this location, which has impact on timing and somewhat on cost. And there's fisheries, I believe, have been cleared. There's no SARS species in that area of the Saugeen. We are doing terrestrial work in a biologist reviewing the site. That actually needs now the specific site to do further investigation on impact on terrestrial. In terms of options, I've got plan and profile. I don't think I'll spend much time on it. I could if you wish, Mr. Chairman. That was the existing, this is the existing alignment, just to make you familiar. In plan, that's the existing road through there, and the alternative A twists it to make it straighter and have less impact on the east side, and vertically, that is the geometry. The solution that I would like to committee to consider, and there will be some discussion when we turn to cost, is having the alignment 50 meters to the south of the existing alignment, basically halfway between the existing alignment and the original road allowance. These are the costs, Mr. Chairperson. We've divided them into the bridge cost, which is a county cost, an approach cost being a shared municipal cost, and a total cost. Alternative A, total cost was about $8.78 million. Alternative B, $8.75 million. And alternative C was substantially higher than the other two at 4.5. So we did not spend a great deal of further time on alternative C. We spent more time on alternative B. In the presentations we made at the councils, we did have the minutes of the historical and the heritage, thank you, the different committees, and which were approved by Brockton. were received by Brockton, in fairness, maybe not approved, received by. And also a part of the package, we included an agreement that we had between the two municipalities for the Big Irwin Bridge, and we're suggesting that there be an agreement for the McCurdy Bridge for us to determine whose costs are what and how that matures through the further environmental assessment, planning and tendering phase and actual work. So I can return to this note. I do note to committee that there appears to be an option A. The county's cost was almost $3 million. And moving to option B, the county's cost did go down. Okay, and some of that is because some of that cost reduction is because that includes the removal of the old bridge, naturally, because the A alignment means you have to take out the old bridge to put the new bridge in. The B alignment allows the old bridge to stay. Super, Mr. Chairman. I think best now for me to go back to the context of the meetings we had with the two municipalities, because I believe it will be a party to some of the solution. We mentioned to the two municipalities that this was a replace situation because of the master plan. Do nothing was not something available to the two municipalities. Aaron Elderslie did express concern over the higher project costs, which I've identified being based on either the NAGS unit prices or the Big Irwin unit prices. Aaron Elderslie were of the opinion that they would prefer alternative A solely for cost. And we did pose a question to Aaron Elderslie that if they would consider option B if their cost was limited to that of option A. And I understood, and I've talked to the CAO recently, that the opinion was they would consider alternative B if their costs were limited to that of option A. I do note that as we went to both council meetings, we went with the intent of coming away with the county owning one of the two bridges. It appeared fairly clear from the discussions at the council meeting, if alternative B was chosen and the old bridge remains, that both councils were hopeful that the county would retain ownership of the existing bridge. And I think that is most of the information, Mr. Chairperson. And the councils were also concerned about the difference between the estimates that you see today and what may happen after tender. And as we have done in the past, our normal arrangements in agreements are that we would go and have 3 councils' approval of tender results before we moved ahead with a project, and that could be embodied in the agreement. Mr. Chairman, I am hopeful to move ahead with a preferred solution. I understand that 1, if not 2 of the councils have talked further about this matter since my meeting a couple of weeks ago. As it stands, Mr. Chairman, I'm hopeful that we can select alternative B. As our preliminary preferred solution to go to a public meeting that I'm hoping we can advertise tomorrow and will be held in about 3 weeks. I'm hoping that the county would consider retaining the ownership of the existing bridge that goes with alternative B. You know, our tourism group are excited with having the old bridge. We would integrate the canoe access point with the old bridge, not the new bridge. And naturally, we'd have to come up with an agreement between Brockton, Aaron Elderslie, and the county. And that agreement, I'm a little sure on how that's going to flesh out when it comes to the cost ramifications.
Yeah, I have, just as a note, Brian, your estimation of some cost subtlety differences, I might like to comment that the county's cost subtlety differences from the study to your latest estimate has gone up maybe 12 or 13 or 14%, which I would agree that's a subtle difference. However, the cost to Brockton and Aaron Elderslie has doubled. So I don't quite treat that as a subtle difference in costing. So your opinion and my opinion of what a subtle difference is is miles apart, Brian. But we'll leave it go with that. We did, you did mention you came to Aaron Ellerslie last Monday and had a very excellent presentation and on the three proposals, and I think you've captured Aaron Ellerslie's thoughts on the three proposals. I'm just from option A, removing the old bridge and building and just slightly changing the alignment of a new bridge on the same location versus option B, does that allow during construction the old bridge to be used? Does it change how the construction would happen? Like where you're working now, the road's been shut down for a year and a half, and another half a year. It makes quite an issue to be shut down that long for fire and ambulance. I don't think it was a question that was asked, the difference in option A and B.
I think you are acknowledging a distinct benefit of alternative B because the existing bridge can continue to be used until we tie in the new road alignment. So whereas option A would have, again, a one-year period upon which you cannot cross the Saugeen at that location.
And then you're off to Brockton. David, you want to comment on Brockton?
Well, we as well welcome the opportunity for Brian to come and talk to us about the proposal. It's the feeling of Brockton Council now. We actually met yesterday on this issue, among other things. But it's our opinion now that option B is the preferred choice, but we have to do some negotiating on the cost. The cost, as Paul has said, is doubled for the project for Aaron Ellerslie and Brockton. So do we say, well, we'll pay the same as Aaron Ellerslie with option B, or can we negotiate further the cost that's before us for option B at this time?
Mr. Engineer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess it's always fruitful. These partnerships have been very successful in the past, and I would see no reason why they wouldn't be successful in the future. Is it always possible to have everything? There will always be some uncertainty as we move ahead in environmental assessments. There will be uncertainty until we tender the job and know what the true costs are. I believe I think for committee's consideration in considering alternative B is the potential that we may have municipalities that prefer to share can I call it $800,000 for round numbers? Let's say $400,000 each, which would mean that the county would be paying a little in excess of $3 million for this bridge. That is the potential that we heard from Aaron Ellerslie back several weeks ago, and I believe that's what we're hearing from discussions you had as late as yesterday. So if we took $3.85 million from the total of $3.85 million, took off the round $800,000, the county's exposure may increase from the $2.99 million or $3 million up about $60,000 to potentially $3 million and let's say $60,000. So you may wish to have regard for that in your decision of whether you wish to proceed with alternative B. In fairness, just to summarize again, there seems to be willpower by the municipalities to see the old bridge remain, and there's acknowledged benefit of leaving the old bridge. And the fine point is that wavering of, in my opinion, about $60,000. And that requires more discussion and I think the term negotiation. So, but based on best information, which is this, if unsuccessful in negotiation, and I might need a heavier hand to assist me in that on behalf of the county, is when we approach the two municipalities, is the high side, based on best information, is the county share, maybe $3,060,000 versus what you see before you on this chart, if you select alternative B.
Bob, go ahead.
Just to be clear here, if we took the B solution, the old bridge that's there now, you say that bridge would stay there? Like
Yes.
you wouldn't tear it down? So, and then it would become the property of us still?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Again, on behalf of the department, I started out differently at the two meetings at the local municipalities. I entered pretty uncertain terrain when I suggested alternative B with the transfer of the bridge, because naturally the bridge can only be owned by Aaron Eldersley. I don't think there's the municipal structure or wherewithal for Brockton, whose two societies and committees have regard for the old bridge, to have ownership of a bridge that's not in their municipality. So all those discussions were entered into at the council meetings. So it became apparent, it's not unusual. The county does have two bridges in a number of 2 or 3 different locations, one in your municipality and one in Saugeen Shores. And the one in Saugeen Shores that we're familiar with had, over the Saugeen River, similar example. The old bridge has stood for 50 years beyond the time that it was replaced. And the purpose of that, the reason of that, is no salt, no calcium, very little, if any, load.
So would this, if the old bridge was left there, would that support tourism, like in the line of a snowmobile trail and so forth? That's the idea of leaving it there?
Yep. Oh, there's a variety of tourism desirabilities. I get many people asking us to take wedding pictures on bridges, and we have said yes once or twice, but mainly no. And I get people just out of the blue saying, there's a variety of uses. The canoe access points, fishing, and a variety of things. It is, in my opinion, the most picturesque truss that we've got left in county ownership.
And also, if I may, the road itself that leads up to that, do you level that all off, or is it just barricaded off? How's the landscaping done around it?
We would curve the accesses onto the old alignment off the new alignment, so it would make it very unattractive to drive down there for a shortcut. And we would prevent vehicles from driving on the old bridge.
Ann?
So liability-wise, we're all covered for leaving the old bridge then? There's no additional liability, or it's mainly an advantage for all the reasons you've stated, and there's no disadvantages?
Life is a bit of a balance, I believe, and
I just wondered cost-wise and whatever, overall.
This year in 2016, we have budgeted, included in your budget, a small cost to go to the Shanks Bridge to make small repairs on the bridge over the Saugeen River and Saugeen Shores. And there will be ongoing small costs as we, maintain railing systems and ensure stringers and crossbeams and truss corners remain adequate and inspected. We will inspect the bridge every 2 years as we would any other county structure.
But you feel the advantages overall for tourism and,
Yes.
and snowmobilers and whoever, with you, they can still go over it with your restricted access.
Oddly enough, was when I was at the two council meetings, there were members of the public there that viewed this as a bridge of substance and of interest and uniqueness, and it is. It's a Pennsylvania truss, and there's no other in the county. I better check in Vermeer, but it's a great example of it, and there's not many left in Ontario.
So tourism's thinking of turning it into an attraction where people can go on a trail through there and...
They actually responded to the environmental assessment at 2 times, identifying the potential, yes, of the county tourism department.
Janice?
So, I just want to understand this. So where the bridge is now, the alternative A, the entire bridge is in Aaron Elderslie at this point?
Yes.
So alternative B, what percentage of that bridge would be in Aaron Elderslie?
Yeah, the road in lieu of a boundary road would be the new alternative B alignment. And so by being a road in lieu of a boundary road, it becomes a bridge on a road in lieu of a boundary road and remains a boundary road bridge.
I love that. That's wonderful.
I'm hoping that was clear.
That's just a bang-on answer, Brian. So what percentage of that bridge is going to be in Aaron Elderslie?
I'm sorry.
Physically.
Physically, 100% of the new bridge will be in Aaron Elderslie.
No matter which solution we're talking about?
Well, no, if it was solution C,
Yeah, I'm kind of getting there.
we would have a bridge on a physical boundary as opposed to a bridge on a road that's in lieu of a boundary road.
Okay. So A and B is primarily or wholly in Aaron Elderslie, and C would be a natural split down the middle between the 2 municipalities.
All the costs are split evenly, regardless of alternative. We're thankful that we're not getting to that level of debate because appropriately so, the benefits are to both municipalities. If I reflect back on the crossing of the Saugeen River, they're few and far between. It goes the one here in town, it goes the 8th of Brant, for a variety of historical reasons on how that one ever matured, and then the 10th of Brant, and between the 10th of Brant on 8 kilometers as the crow flies, the only crossing will be at this site between the 10th of Brant and Paisley.
Those are big numbers for municipalities. That just...
Yes, yes. But the river divides the municipality, and the crossings are important. And this is the 100-year solution for overcoming a divide, a major divide like a major river.
Milt?
Yeah, Brian, just to understand the numbers, you said it would increase by 60,000. It looks to me like it's 150,000 difference between A and B, cost sharing. Oh, well, no, the total difference.
If the anomaly, Mr. Mayor, is that number's close to $3 million because it includes $120,000 to remove the old bridge.
Oh.
So really is if you decided to go and say, okay,
Yes.
we would agree with the municipality sharing that $800,000, you take that off, you're at $3 million and let's say $60,000, which would be, $65,000 more than that number if we chose A.
Yeah, yes, it's the removal of the old bridge.
Yes.
In A, yeah.
Yes.
I'll read the recommendation if I can find it again. Probably an easier way of getting here. Yeah, it's page 12, yeah. Well, thanks for that, Jonas, but we're there, so. I'll read the recommendation that the department continue with Schedule C environmental assessment for the McCurdy Bridge Initiative and hold a public information center with the preliminary preferred solution being alternative B, replacement in a new alignment 50 meters south, and that the county would retain ownership of the existing bridge. That the county work with the municipality of Aaron Elderslie and the municipality of Brockton to establish fair cost sharing arrangement. Have a mover and a seconder for that motion. Moved by Bob, second by Ann. Any discussion on the motion? Ann?
I just have one question. So are we setting a precedent here that the county will retain bridges in the future then? That's my only question. instead of turning them back?
I would probably suggest that the county has high regard for the comments received through the environmental assessment process and has integrated that into the preferred solution.
I don't know, I'm not sure you answered my question.
No, well, there may be, it's unique to this site. So, I don't think we're making a precedent. I think we're responding to, strong positions by, committees working on behalf of councils and the community.
Janice?
So are you both comfortable with B, the alternative B? Paul?
I suppose so. It's
Like-
the fact that going to B over A for a few dollars more to the municipality, if it comes to that, and the fact that traffic's flowing for a lot longer during construction. I think Brian's a lot more enthusiastic than what Aaron Ellerslie was of having the old bridge there, but if the county wants to retain it and it's significant, and you might have been one of the first ones you ever designed or something, Brian, I don't know, but it's not a high traffic count, that road. I mean, there's a big difference having a beautiful antique structure there versus over at the Saugeen where there's 100, 200 times more traffic. So, like, let's face it, this has always been a low traffic count road. I would have to think I've crossed it once in the last 5 years, so maybe with the old bridge there and some signage.
It is very important to the community in that service area. And it's a substantial area that is served by that crossing of the Saugeen River. The alternatives are some distance away.
Well, I totally get that for the new structure, but I'm having a bit of trouble wrestling with leaving the old bridge there has any significance to the area, but it's cheaper to leave it there for some people.
If I can offer, the public at your meeting spoke about the desirability. Like, it's pretty broad. Even in the master plan, there's many comments about retaining that bridge.
Well, let's go down the road to the master plan. I'm not, but you must have spoke to them out in the hall because I didn't hear. We were at the same meeting. I suppose I didn't hear that, but it doesn't matter. The other point I was wanting to ask Brian on the alternative A to alternative B. If we go to alternative B, does that change on the design? Did that change it from a 60 to an 80K design, or did they both stay at 60K?
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Excellent point is, in the master plan, the municipalities required that the solution, that we knew that we're going to replace the bridge because of the outcome of the master plan, but you imposed that the horizontal alignment remain at 80 kilometers per hour, but the vertical, the horizontal alignment could be 80 kilometers per hour, but the vertical had to stay at 60 kilometers per hour in order to control costs. If we had actually created a road, an alignment, a vertical alignment that was for 80 kilometers per hour, there would be a dramatic cut on the west side. But I can offer to you that the design proposed for alternative B is going to be on alignment that if in the future, in the 100-year life of the new bridge, you could actually cut the west hill to achieve an 80 kilometer per hour vertical design if you chose to do it. So the design of the bridge is flexible enough to accommodate that sometime in the future. But to honor the direction of the master plan, vertically it was designed at 60 kilometers per hour.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the recommendation? Did I get a mover and a seconder, Darlene? I'm having, yeah. Okay, then, if there's no other discussion, we'll have a vote on the recommendation. All those in favor of the recommendation? Those opposed? It's carried. That moves us on to item C, Brian, on bridge and culvert capital.
Sorry, Mr. Chair,
What's that?
if I could just interrupt for one moment. I wonder at this junction, we have now completed all the reports that were referencing class environmental assessments, and I'd like to request committee consideration for having staff return with a report that outlines what triggers environmental assessments in the stages, and a fulsome explanation, because earlier comments, I think there's a lack of understanding of what triggers them and how the process evolves.
Are you asking me if that's okay, or just kind of telling me, like?
No,
certainly okay,
I am requesting.
Hey? I thought maybe you were going to recommend we break for lunch, but do you want to break for lunch, or we're going to keep going? Go ahead.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman and Brian, I'm wondering, for the sake of time, and I know everybody's hungry and want to get to lunch, but I'm not going to be able to stay, and I would wondering if you could move to item 3E in your agenda items, and I'll be here for that, and then I'll excuse myself afterwards, if that's okay.
Just before you go there, Kelly's suggestion, I think, is a good one, that we come back with a report to identify what triggers EAs.
Sure.
Everyone's good with that? I think it's a great suggestion, yeah. Okay, thank you. So let's just jump down to, the consensus is, I believe, that we're going to keep going. And we'll jump down for a second to 3E, tandem truck and chassis tender.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The county had budgeted for the purchase of a tandem truck and equipment in 2016, and tenders are out and to be received this afternoon. The tender document reflected our success with having an engine type of a Detroit DD13. And the tender reflects that, Mr. Chairperson. It was suggested that we bring this issue to your attention for your consideration before we open tenders this afternoon, because we haven't specified a specific engine type. The report speaks for itself, Mr. Chairman, when it comes to our past history on the trucks that we've had with this type of engine, and our success with it, and how our department has focused their attention on how we manage and maintain those engines.
Mitch?
This report makes sense. I mean, we've been putting money into training, and if this is what the guys like working on and they're comfortable with it, I think it actually saves us money down the road, so I support it.
Okay, the recommendation is that the tender document for tender BCH 16-06 specifies only a Detroit DD13 engine. Any, have a motion moved by Ann, second by Mike. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? It's carried. I think that puts us back up to item C on action items, bridge and culvert capital. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To make you aware, the county is working with our colleagues to the east on the boundary between the two counties, and I'll blow up the area because it's on the small map attached to your report. Is, if I can offer, is in the insert. Oh, this looks a lot. In the insert, we identify a location of Walkerton and Mildmay, and we identified that just north of Clifford, there's the boundary between the two counties, runs up through here towards Hanover. There's a number of crossings of a small watercourse, partly municipal drain, and we're dealing with two of the crossings reflected on the larger plan before you. So the County Road, Gray Road 10, boundary between the two counties, is through here. The water course meanders back and forth along across the road and municipal roads to cross between our road and South Bruce Road 4 times within a kilometer. When we originally, the two counties, this is within the jurisdiction of Gray County with cost sharing to Bruce County. We originally looked at it, Martin and I were somewhat of the opinion that there would be some benefit if we tried to keep the River Creek drain on one side, on the Bruce side. When we looked at impact on adjacent landowners, we originally didn't think we'd have much luck, but we eventually did get a chance to talk to that one landowner, and there is some potential for success to put a high flow channel on the west side of the road and not have the need for in excess of 6 meter wide culverts that you saw the costs that were before you. With Gray's, Gray had introduced a similar report. I think their meeting was today as well. So I've just used their report and tailored it into a Bruce County format. And I've used a similar recommendation as they have got, is to allow us more time to talk to this landowner to see the potential of having a high flow channel on the west side of the road. Thereby we can put in small culverts where there's currently large culverts and enjoy a bit of savings, and ultimately down the road have less long-term costs as future repairs or replacements are necessitated. So before you, Mr. Chairman, is the recommendation that the funds for the two projects remain in the bridge reserve.
The recommendation is that the bridge reserve funds budgeted in 2016 for the Makes Creek Bridge 10-590 and Gray Road 10 culvert 10-900 remain in the bridge reserve. Any discussion? We'll get a mover for the motion if possible. Moved by Milt, second by Ann. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Brian, we're on to items D, federal gas tax.
It's the county's preference that we receive and use the gas tax in the year we receive it. We acknowledge that we were unsuccessful on Road 86 in Lucknow this year, and we wish to reallocate the gas tax to other completed projects. And we make that recommendation in the wording, appropriately in the wording. I do mention that federal gas tax is a substantial portion of our capital program. It is a major portion of our capital program.
The recommendation that reads that the $15,000 of the 2015 gas tax funding be reallocated from Bruce Road 86C to Bruce Road 20A, and that the total of $105,000 of the 2015 gas tax funding be reallocated from Bruce Road 86D to Bruce Road 20A in the amount of $35,000 and Bruce Road 20C in the amount of $70,000. Have a mover and a seconder for the motion. Moved by Dave, seconded by Mitch. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? It's carried. So I think, Brian, that brings us down to action item F, tender summary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. These are two projects, or two tenders that we've received and closed. One was for a bridge/culvert in Lucknow, and it was originally set up to be done prior to any further work in Lucknow, and you're going to see another report for that work in Lucknow coming up shortly. And the other was for MHSW.
The recommendation is that the warden and clerk be authorized to sign the following tender contracts as per section 13-2-13 of the County of Bruce Purchase and Procurement Policy, 15-33 Campbellville Street Bridge culvert repairs, and 16-01 2016 Bruce County Municipal Hazardous and Special Waste Collection. Moved by Mike, second by Ann. Any discussion on the motion? Mike?
The hazardous waste, that's a different contract than we've had in the past, isn't it?
It was the same contract as we had last year. Was that a one-year contract? It may have been a two-year contract. Our team is loath having too long of a contract for the ever-changing nature of MHSW and our relationship with the province. But yeah, we've had great success with this contractor.
Just, is it, just from interest, do you get, is there many tenders submitted for this?
I believe in this, for this tender, we did receive 2 to 3 submissions. So in this one, we've had great success with, and of course it was the low tender as well.
Thanks.
Yes.
Milt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Compared to last year, this price is?
It's a little lower. The unit rates were down a little bit, and Carrie Meyer has included additional 2 events that she's still examining, and that's part of that $6,000 that that we identified there. So there is the potential that we go from 15 to 17, I think, events, but there's some internal stuff we have to deal with to sort of manage an extra couple of events. This has evolved dramatically. If you recall, at our business plan discussion or presentation last week, I believe, is we get a lot of pressure to consider permanent sites. People call up and suggest that MHSW is county obligation and that we should be have more venues for its collection. And that usually leads to some good discussion with some ratepayers.
Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? It's carried. Information items, item A is Capitol Road, Lucknow Urban.
An information item, Mr. Chairperson, if I can refresh committee, at the east end of Lucknow in 2014, we undertook a construction project. We put the top lift of hot mix on in 2015. We originally had thought that we would undertake more rehabilitation on Main Street, yet we, with the community and our municipal partners, felt that it would be advantageous to consider making the remaining semi-urban area out here into an urban area. And so then, as you saw in your December package, is we're working with Huron-Kinloss and their consultant to consider the outcome of that very large drainage area there. So our very small project is right in there, is affected by the outcome of how that water is dealt with. And there is a variety of ways of managing this issue, and in a recent meeting with our partners, the colleagues, and those involved, it was felt desirable that we await the outcome of the consultant larger area study before we tie in our smaller solution with that solution. Just an information report, unless there's any questions, Mr. Chairperson.
Any questions or comment on that information item? Hearing none, we'll move on to information item B, Bridge and Culverts Capital, Big Irwin Bridge.
Again, Mr. Chairman, just a bit of an update of where we stand for the record, that committee are aware of the status of the bridge and acknowledge that it will, the contractor will likely use to the limit of his obligation of having the bridge completed in midsummer this year. And naturally, because of my enthusiasm, I included the same pictures.
You still got your slide rule, I hope?
I do.
Good. That, any questions on the information item B? So we're on to information item C, Small Communities Fund. Brian?
Again, we are always thankful for the gas tax we receive from the federal government. We're just acknowledging that on an application we made last fall that we are unsuccessful with a contribution towards the rehabilitation of County Road 4 between here and Hanover. And again, Mr. Chairman, just an information report.
Any questions or comments on that information item? Hearing none, I think our next meeting then is on February the 18th, 2016. And if there's no other business, we'll look for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Ann, second by Mike. All those in favor, we're adjourned. Thank you, Brian.